Welcome back to the Florida Relocation Guide, your smartest way to buy and or relocate in all of Southwest Florida. I am your host, Adam Hancock, and today I have a really hopefully useful video for you. And by the way, everything you see over the next few minutes is available for free download in the description box below. But our game plan is basically this. I want to look specifically at the Sarasota and Manatee County real estate market. And the methodology I used to build this video was I wanted to take every single sale that happened so far this year. January 1st, as I sit here basically right now, we have 15,000 plus transactions that give us a ton of really rich data. We have every single price point. We have every single neighborhood at a line item level. I turn zip code into macro area. I have price per square foot. So just a lot of stuff to pull out some really useful analysis. And over the next couple of minutes, what I want to do is I want to dive deeper into the trends that we glean from this data. So we can do two things. One, you can be, as a viewer, a potential buyer at home, you can not only understand more about what's happening right now that's pretty far removed from the COVID era, which is real time is important, but you can also hopefully make much more informed decisions if you're in the amongst of a current process. So I hope you find a lot of value in today's take, and let's get started. All right, let's kick things off by looking at how the real estate market has evolved so far in 2024 across Sarasota and Manatee. According to the data set that I ran, it's about 246-ish days from January 1st to kind of now, but when I ran the data, 15,000 plus, 15,021 to be exact, sales that existed. So that's what our baseline is. Of those sales, both counties combined, all the neighborhoods, we had an average price point at $656K. I'm not sure that's going to surprise a lot of people. But in juxtaposition to that, we had a median at $465,000. So a couple of things. One, I think we're all feeling the lull of like some sort of pause in the market, the interest rates, the election, and I think the Q4 to Q1 ramp is going to be as big as it's been in a long time. But that's because of the difference in the pause of people kind of holding back, not being in a rush, and I think rightfully so in a lot of cases. But there's still 15,000 transactions that moved for some reason in that timeline. Also, I think the idea with Sarasota, it's not the cheapest place in the world for sure. And I don't want to be insensitive in any manner. And this is perspective affordability, depending on your personal background. But of the 15,000, 7,500 plus still bought a home in Sarasota, Manatee County under $465K in 2024. And that surprised me. I think that would surprise a lot of people. So not everything's $1 million, one. And two, I think this kind of stat, with anomalies aside, is only going to increase. I think from a buyer and a relocation buyer leverage perspective, this isn't going to go to a $200,000 market, but the chance that you have a fighting shot to satiate your house needs in a more respectable, non-crazy way is going to be way more reasonable moving forward. Okay, so one more thing I wanted to quickly mention when it comes to trend analysis is the month-over-month look. So if we took our 8 months that we have in the 15,000 sales, we have January to full August. Starting at the top, we started off pretty slow. The two lowest sales months of the total 15K were January, February. And then we saw a pretty monumental surge coming out of the back half of Q1 to full Q2. So from March to the end of June, we saw about 60% of all the sales that happened this far just in that one period. And then of course, like after June, that July, August, schools are going back, people are going back home. And we saw another lag, not as low as January, February, but not that far off. But those middle months, they weren't just accounting for the largest portion. They were almost even of sales per month too. So super, super consistent the way activity was generally happening. And the later part of that statement, that would really come into play with normal seasonality. My gut personally tells me that the end of September in 2024 to full Q4 will be one of the biggest swing backs that we've seen in a long time. Somewhere similar to like the swing back we saw at the end of 2021, a little bit 2022, but not as much. That I think it'll really account for, when it's all said and done, probably maybe 50% of the total sales that eclipse at the end of the year. One of the most interesting things though on top of that I saw when I was looking at this is the two cheapest months on average price were the most recent. July and August had the two lowest average price and median price months that existed across all 8 months. So basically you're seeing pricing go like this. And I think a lot of us are feeling that. You're seeing new home incentives, you're seeing sellers having, getting like kind of a reality check. So prices going down like this, as much as $150,000 on average, less than like even January, February. And then you're seeing my anticipation of buyer demand going up like this. So hitting, kind of like an apex point of sorts. So all of that being said, I think if you were somewhat agreeing with half of what I said, having foresight to guess that that may happen if you're trying to make a purchase in the next 4 to 6 months, I think would be really wise to take a deep look. In section number 2, I want to dive into one of the key metrics that help buyers and sellers quickly understand value across the Sarasota and Manatee real estate markets, price per square foot, especially I think at the zip code level. This is one of the crucial indicators if you're coming from out of state or even out of area to help you understand if you're going to spend money, is it a good value, and at the bare minimum to quickly understand if you're on the right or wrong track. Okay, if we move over and look at the data once again, I think one of the best ways to start this particular type of section is almost like the opposite ends of the spectrum, bookends, that we can go high, we can go low, we can kind of squeeze it in the middle and contextualize a lot of the broad stuff that I've mentioned so far in the video. So for instance, there's 15,000 plus sales, right? A lot of things going on. But I also mentioned that there is a median price, not an average, but a median of mid 400,000s. And if I was watching YouTube, this particular video, what I know about Sarasota personally, that'd be pretty difficult for me to get my head around. So what I want to start with a little bit of affordability, and we'll look at the other side of the non-affordability as well. We'll talk about what they mean versus each other. And then there were some interesting things that came for me personally out of that discovery that is almost trending behavior, maybe potential opportunities for you watching. So we're going to do that as well. So if you're really trying to achieve an under $500,000 price point, you're going to see a lot of the players that are always existing in this space in the Sarasota and Manatee market, even if you go back 10 or 15 years. If we kind of walk through them here, number one, the cheapest, believe it or not, this isn't even median, $260,000 average on 200 sales year to date is Western Bradenton. This first one, not a huge sample set here, but Englewood and Port Charlotte are always going to be on this list as well for the most part. We're going to talk about a little bit of what this all means. Number 4 on the list is Western Bradenton again, because we're doing the multiple zip codes in the same areas here. Northport, almost every single time I've ever looked at this, Northport is the highest single volume sales player in affordability. And there's reasons for all this kind of stuff, but you're going to see that. North Sarasota, so if you're not to Lakewood, but you're above downtown, you're not to Western Bradenton, there's like an in-between area of sorts that exists there. One interesting thing is east of the trail popped up on this list for affordability. It's a tricky market to navigate. The average home that sold was built in 1973. But if you want to be around downtown and you don't want to be at the super high premium, like sought after land part of west of the trail, then east of the trail gets you just on the other side of Tamiami Trail. So if you want to, that's going to be interesting for investment. It could be interesting for urban living. If you're not like a new construction lover like myself, then this could be something, if you can be patient, like the average is $409K in an area that's pretty unbelievable for the state. Another northern Sarasota, another in Western Bradenton. So you kind of get the point here, but if you're looking at that thing, if you take my tool, this is stuff that all happened this year. So you could say, it's not guaranteed, but a better than not shot. If this is my criteria, this is the general size of house I'm cool with, because almost every one of these homes was under 2,000 square feet. You can see the bedrooms, the bathrooms, and the average age of the home. So it gives you some nice insight, and even the tax history, but that's a little shades of gray there. Go to the opposite end, not affordable. It's what we all would probably guess. It's the beaches, right? Number 1 is Anna Maria Island. Number 2 is Longboat Key. Anna Maria Island is northernmost tip. Longboat Key is the barrier island that's exactly 50% Sarasota and Manatee County. Number 3 is west of the trail, Rosemary, Lido Key. This is the downtown. This is 34236. This is the downtown zip code. Downtown Sarasota, the heart of it, and west. So almost the best of everything. You got Lido Beach, Siesta Key, downtown Sarasota, and nice single-family homes. Siesta Key, number 4. Number 5 is Holmes Beach, which is Anna Maria Island adjacent. Cortez, Osprey. So you kind of get that opposite end of the spectrum that I was mentioning. Now, the big thing that I want to bring home here is that both of these things, which is interesting, is what I find that a lot of people don't choose A or Z. They might choose M or J. It's somewhere in the middle if I stop doing the alphabet examples. But a lot of times it's not here or here. But having these two vastly different examples and then creeping in and seeing what's best for you, there's a lot of opportunity within that conversation, because these are deemed sacrifices in one way or another. Someone chose to give up something to get something, and they're different things. Like if you want the premium, like the Anna Maria Island, the average cost this year is $2.6 million. Longboat Key was $1.7. The west of the trail is 1.6. If you want that, then what you're trading the money premium for is to get something that you think that you can't get elsewhere. It's like paradise, it's exclusivity, it's west of the trail gives you a little bit of all of it. And it's not high volume sales. If 300 people got in there the whole year so far, maybe 600 the entire year of 2024, that means the other people that were trying to didn't. If you want the affordability end, you're going to sacrifice location a lot of times. You're going to sacrifice maybe age of home. So you want to pay $500K or $450 instead of 1.7. Again, that's an extreme example. Then a lot of times you might be 21 miles to downtown versus 3. So it allows you to say, if I want to do something 12 months from now, not now, you can still take the same 10 options and say, like, they might not be exactly the same, but the trending value of them might be. And then if you can find in-betweens and you want to get real particular here, there's Airbnb investment opportunity, there's up-and-coming new construction appreciation, all that stuff in between. So that, if that makes any sense, that would be kind of my takeaways. And one other quick insight I wanted to relay as we conclude this section, I just thought it was so incredibly interesting when I was pouring through the data, was when I look at not price first, but I look at just the most sales, like where they existed in order. Number one on the entire list so far year to date was Paris, Florida. I've never seen that before. Paris has never been number one on the list in count of sales. I thought that was really interesting. Number 2 is Northport. I mentioned that. But number 3 then is South Venice, but more importantly, the South Venice / Welland Park zip code. Number 4 was Lakewood Ranch, but not just all of Lakewood Ranch. It was the north of State Road 70 section, which is the northeast quadrant of Lakewood Ranch, AKA before you get to Parrish. Number 5 was Palmetto, and I think now Palmetto is like an odd bird, but a lot of Palmetto, the southern part, bleeds into what people think of Parrish. Like the Taylor Morrison, the big communities of Taylor Morrison that are like the junior Esplanadizarios are technically in Parrish, Palmetto, not in Parrish. So I think a lot of that bleeds. And then even number 6 was Nokomis. So I think one of the biggest things that you could glean from that, if it's relevant to you, is that, like I mentioned, people aren't necessarily going here and here and being like, what's the cheapest? They're saying, I want to be in this area. This is what I really think I want. What's the more affordable version of that? What's the plan B if I wanted the A? They're not just saying like overall in the whole area, anything's in play with Sarasota and Manatee County. Parish only matters at all in broad brush here, so don't get mad at me. But Parish only matters at all because Lakewood Ranch was built before it. Palmetto, when I was growing up, is not viewed like suburban Palmetto, like the Parish made it relevant. The South Venice area was an old school boating community, and then Welland Park pops up. You know, Nokomis is a drive-through town to a lot of people, Nokomis and Osprey, on the way from Sarasota to Venice. But these are really close to areas that people really want to be near or at. So if one, you can save $150,000 by being 10 miles, or if Nokomis allows you to be a little closer to Sarasota, and but you also get Venice, a lot of people discover that after they are really into one particular area. I think that's another really great way to use this data, by looking at the count of sales versus the price first, and then work your way down as you're probably considering a specific criteria that relates to you. Okay, and the last major thing that I think would be really useful in this kind of video is at the neighborhood level. We've talked about the areas, of course, the sales that were trending within these particular spots, but what are the specific neighborhoods and communities that people did business in? You know, so you can really dive a little bit deeper into this and get a feel of, is this right for me? What are the age of these homes? What are the average price points? Who's building these communities if it's new construction? I think it's a great way to build a short list. So I'm going to do that first, and then to finish the video very quickly, I'm going to actually just show you how to use the tool. I'm going to share a screen with you. I haven't really done that formally. I've showed you snippets, but I'm going to show you how to plug your own criterion, especially if your background's not like deep in Excel like myself. Then I want to make this usable for you. So I'll show you how to actually use this where it's functional if you choose to download it from the description box below, and we'll finish up. All right, let's hop right in. One note, I had showed you that I turned the number zip code into a text area, so you don't have to remember the numbers. But you know, there's multiple zip codes within every little area that makes sense at a micro level. For this exercise, I added one more level. It's a macro zip code area, I'm calling it, where it made like 42 zip codes grouped into maybe like 9 or 10 total. I think it's a really easy way to see this thing. So with that being said, if I take the macro zip code of a combination of Venice, Osprey, and Nokomis, that is the highest single sales area of our whole list, if you group those together. So 2,500 plus of our 15,000 plus sales existed just south of the Sarasota city limits, but above Englewood. Of that, we're just going to go kind of top down. I'm going to hop around. I'll give you my random thoughts. We're not going to do everything, and then we'll move on. Of that area, an area called South Venice, which is vague, is the number one overall. It was by far the majority of the sales on a percentage basis. So 210 of the sales were South Venice. The next one down was 80 plus. South Venice, if you're not super familiar, is before Welland Park and all this new construction happened in the Venice area, this was a lot of it. So if you didn't live on the island and you live below the island, then there's this whole swath of land called South Venice, and it's almost like a laid-back boater kind of feel, real close to this ferry that ferries you over to the beach. It's actually below the beaches. A lot of people have like paid memberships to that. The beaches are pretty close by, not heavily HOA restricted, so people have like 8-foot fences, boats in the yard, stuff like that. But it's kind of a blue collar, laid back feel, just from a random opinion standpoint. And you can kind of get the feel as you walk down. So that very affordable, $369,000 average still in 2024 for the sales this year. The average home size is about 1,500 square feet, so you can see the age there. 3-bedroom, 2-bath, and the average home year is 1984. So you can kind of get the gist of what I'm saying there. You have Grand Palm. Grand Palm is Neal Communities. That's a really interesting one too. It's like real nature-centric. You have homes that are, the average was 2019 of the year home, but you have homes still building right now, and then you have homes built like 11 years ago. So there's a little bit more texture and mature landscaping than a lot of the new construction now that's just platted because of the long evolution of the history of this place. But Grand Palm, the biggest thing is it's part of Welland Park, but it was part of the first part, the West Villages district. This existed by itself before Welland Park was even a thing. Number 4 is Sarasota National. So that's Lennar. Lennar is like a high volume inventory builder. So they're not doing custom homes. They're the opposite end of the spectrum, but they provide a lot of affordability because of that, because they're kind of building economies of scale. But their golf brand is pretty beautiful. Like a lot of people will view the Lennar golf brands as one of the most affordable ways to get a deeded in golf membership. And Sarasota National was one of the first because now they have Welland Park Golf and Country Club, same thing. Lakewood National, same thing. The new Calusa National coming, same thing. Babcock National in South. Bonita National, same thing. So you can kind of learn one thing about this and then go all around Southwest Florida and take that same kind of learning experience. So they have condos, villas, single families, the whole thing. Grand Paradiso, next one down, another Lennar, no golf. Island Walk, another DeValsta in that West Villages district. And then you have some old ones like Jacaranda. Sereno is an interesting one if you're looking for like not new construction and you like Venice. The one thing I would look into, which I can't do everything here, is Sereno Shores, Sereno East. But we'll move on. Okay. The second highest selling category was the combination of Parish and Palmetto. And this one's going to show a little bit more insight to what I was describing about South Palmetto earlier. Average price point, $485K, so almost $100,000 less than the Venice, Osprey, and Comus category, and about 500 less sales for the year to date so far. Okay, number 1 overall in that area, Artisan Lakes. So that's that Taylor Morrison brand. So if you're like, I love Esplanade by Taylor Morrison, a lot of people do. I love Delazio and the Palazzo, maybe the Beacon and Lincoln. Well, if you're looking for $150,000 to $300,000 more affordable, broad brush, depending on the timing, then people will try to find if they could replicate that brand elsewhere. And one of the places that people really did that was Artisan Lakes. So Artisan Lakes technically is South Palmetto, but a lot of it's right in that Parish conversation. It's kind of here nor there unless you have kids in school. But they have an Esplanade brand out there. It's not golf, but they do what Taylor Morrison always does. They'll put like Esplanade Azario, there's a Park East. Sky Ranch, there's a Casilla and an Esplanade. So they kind of do this like a little bit more no frills brand next to like a luxury amenity rich brand. But by dropping that brand from Lakewood Ranch into Palmetto, it completely changes the price point. So that's something really, really interesting. The next one down is, we're going to get a lot of new construction here. So Artisan Lakes was 2023, average this year. Crosswind is out in Parish. That is the combination of Homes by West Bay, which is really making a push into our area from Tampa Bay, and Casa Fresca. Average price point was $530. Average home built 2024. Bella Laga is DR Horton. Average price point $417K. The combination of DR Horton, which is like Lennar in the fact that they build high volume. I think DR Horton's technically the highest volume builder in America. So they're building kind of no frills, economies of scales homes, but the trade-off for that should be affordability for you. It should be speed and move-in and affordability. And if you drop an affordable builder in an affordable area, then you take that on steroids. So Bella Laga is DR Horton. Silverstone is DR Horton. Del Webb at Bayview. Let's do a couple more here. Del Webb at Bayview is this is my whole point of the parish as Junior Lakewood Ranch. Del Webb at Bayview, it was the cheaper version of Del Webb at Lakewood Ranch. They would be building at the same time. Del Webb at Lakewood Ranch started first, and I would take people and I would drop them at Bayview 10, 12 miles further north, and they would save $150,000 in the same model. And Bayview is becoming a really interesting area, but that's the whole perspective is if Lakewood Ranch is the A suburb in a lot of people's minds, then why would you go to Parish's version? You should get a trade-off of a newer home, a cheaper home, a bigger home for the same amount of money that would be smaller in the other suburbs. So that's how you can really learn about it. Salt Meadows, new construction, Manatee. Parish is becoming a thing. Parish is becoming, if they can combine a master plan element of communal amenities, like the downtowns, a reason that you don't need to leave Parish as much because of the sacrifice in location because it's so far east. I think that's coming. But right now, the opportunity would be significant price savings, hopefully, or a newer home, bigger home, something like that. North River Ranch, as I finish with this one, is Neal Communities, really master plan. That's probably the biggest example of multiple builders, like kind of an all-in-one idea, kind of like Star Farms and Lakewood Ranch, an all-in-one idea of you go to one place, you get multiple builders, you're going to have schools in there, you're going to have little town centers in there, and it's like a master plan within a master plan. So there's that for number 2. We'll just do a couple more here. Western Bradenton's a little bit of a peacock. This one groups basically a lot of Lakewood Ranch is considered Bradenton too, like in the Manatee County part. So this is the part that you would say is not that. It's west towards the coast, all the way over there, but not on the beaches. And then some parts that are like just to the left of Lakewood Ranch that hug that river there. That's the master grouping for Western Bradenton. So I wouldn't have guessed that my very first one in Western Bradenton would be new construction, but you're going to see DR Horton just like coming out of the gates and just popping communities everywhere. But if you're seeking a certain geography and you don't want old homes, which a lot of coastal land is old homes, then DR Horton could be an interesting solution, at least even an interim. Grab that home, learn more about the area, do something else from an investment standpoint. Evergreen is number 1. It was 2023. That's DR Horton. The average price point is $427 with homes over 2,000 square feet. Palma Sola is like the Western Bradenton suburb. You're going to have like one of the only senses of like kind of the gated community you feel of suburban housing. And that's way up on the coast there. It's a really interesting location on a map. You just, if you have no idea about how Sarasota and Manatee County works, you need to get comfortable with Western Bradenton because it does not look like Lakewood Ranch. So just food for thought, but it's very coastal. Braden Point is another one, 2023 DR Horton. Bayshore Gardens. Terra is a golf community. It's like an old school one. There's a public golf and a private golf side. That's right on the fringe of Lakewood Ranch, depending on where you're at. But it just kind of gets you out of what I think a lot of people incoming would think of Lakewood Ranch. So that'll do it for Western Bradenton. That's a little bit of a unicorn. Let me do one more here. So Lakewood Ranch, a lot of fan favorite. So Lakewood Ranch has 3 main zip codes. They have the Sarasota one, just below University Parkway. That's like the Waterside District. Crosses a little bit into some of North Sarasota too, though, like the Tatum Ridge area and that. You have 34202. That's like the heart of it. Summerfield, Country Club West and East, that whole middle area. And then 34211 is the part above State Road 70 that starts to get you a little bit more affordable because you start to creep to Southern Parish and there's a little bit of a bleed there. But number 1 overall, Star Farms. And a lot of new construction isn't always logged in MLS, on Zillow, that kind of thing. So if it's not registered as sale, then, there's only so much you could do. But also, like, for the most part, this should trend in a way that should give you, even if the total number is less than it should be the right percentage of the numbers, if that makes sense. So Star Farms number 1, that is master plan within a master plan. It's D.R. Horton again. It's their parent company. And this one, they took it completely on steroids as far as like everything but the beach. So a ton of D.R. Horton presence in there, but you also have custom buildings. So you have Arthur Ruttenberg, you have Lee Wetherington, you have John Cannon. So you'll have $400,000 villa and you'll have a $3.5 million custom home. And then Homes by West Bay kind of sweeps in the middle of the two, and maybe like the custom that would have been 2.2, Homes by West Bay maybe does like a semi-custom that's like 1.2, 1.3. So that's how I see them. But they have like tiered amenities. There's going to be literally everything but the beach. There's restaurants, there's adventure parks, all kinds of stuff. And that gets you in a really good school district. So if you want that kind of combo, and a random community like a Solera, which is another D.R. Horton, isn't enough for you, and this could be it's really family friendly, all that. Number 2 is Lorain Lakes, super affordable, unbelievable amenity, Lennar community. Number 3 is Solera, another D.R. Horton. That was at one point the most affordable community, lowest feed in all of Lakewood Ranch from new construction like 3 years ago, timing wise. Esplanade Azario, this has been a unanimous favorite. It's some of the best amenities in all of Lakewood Ranch. Taylor Morrison, beautiful, beautiful community for the price. And it's deeded golf. So about 800 plus members get deeded golf. And when it closes, there won't be a lot of public golf. If you're looking at your cell phone here, Sarasota, I have a Sarasota North, and a Sarasota East. Sarasota East is really like Mayaca, like east of Fruitville. Sarasota North is going to be above downtown. And Sarasota, the one I'm calling Sarasota is like Gulf Gate, Sarasota Springs, Palmer Ranch, that kind of area. So you can look for yourself. But on the next section, I'll show you how you can look at the results and all that kind of stuff. But I hope that little bit of neighborhood insight gives you some help, at least when you're working on it independently. And let's do one more wrap up. Okay, and as promised, the last section of this video is meant to be a quick video tutorial of exactly how to use the tool you've seen throughout the video, how to make it specific to your house criteria, and you can download it in the description box below this video once again. All right, we're gonna hop over here. You see 3 tabs. I'm gonna explain the purpose of them. But the first thing you wanna know on tab number 1 is the buttons at the top. This is the best way to make a big amount of data small fast, undo it, do it again, and basically scenario plan for yourself. So we see property style, county, all the relevant buckets you'd want. And I made my own groupings of square footages that make sense together, price ranges that made sense together. In the average shopping range, I see people go throughout. So it just makes it easier because there's a lot of lines. All right. So for instance, if I wanted to kind of say, what am I going to do? I want to know, I'm probably going to buy a single family home. So you see everything in green is selected. And you see I click single family, and now just single family is collected. If you ever say wanted to look at 2 categories, maybe townhomes and villa, if you click one, I'm using a Mac, but it's Control or Command depending on what you are. I hold Command, click the other one, they're both selected. Now I have both. If you ever want to undo anything, the red X at the top undoes it. You can't really mess this up. If anything happens, you can download it again and it's fresh. So I'm gonna go single family home. I'm not super worried about county on this one because I don't want, the Hillsborough and Charlotte County is going to be anomalies because it's a Sarasota model, so depending on how it got in MLS. But the Manatee, Sarasota, I don't want to alienate, so I'm going to leave that alone. I'm going to say that I need a home. I have 2 kids. I'm going to say I need 2,500 and above. So I'm going to select the 2 buckets above 2,500, again, holding Command. For this exercise sake, I'm going to say I'm going to go, let's say 500K to 1.5 million. So I'm going to select everything within that. And let's say 500K to 2 million because I don't have a 1.5. So again, I selected all of them that are relevant. Maybe I want to know what sold recently. So I'm going to do the last couple months only. And these are the closing months of the house. So if it's a built house, it started and closed at these months. Then I'm going to leave the area alone because I'm kind of looking at it here. The first tab is the highest level of area, which I talked about in the last section. So this is the biggest grouping of zip codes. And so you can see there's only a handful here. And you can see Lakewood Ranch. So I'd have a good shot at buying the Lakewood Ranch here, but this is the price point. If I want cheaper than Lakewood, boom, maybe I look at Parrish. So if I understand where those are versus each other, am I getting a much smaller house? Not really. I'm still 4 bedrooms, 3 bath, very, very similar. So you can see what I meant about that price disparity. But do you want to sacrifice the location? You can say, another way to save a little bit of money, not material, but would be to go south. So I could go to Parrish above Lakewood, but I could go south as well. Sarasota city limits have a little bit in there. And then what you can do from there, you can say, okay, I'm curious about this Parrish thing. Click any of these buttons, and that's the neighborhoods. So the top is the most sales in order, and I'll show you how to change that in a second. You click 1, it's the individual community names in order of the most sales too. So you have Crosswind, North River Ranch. You can look into that deeper. You can Google those communities. If you hit the minus, it'll pop it back up. If you have all the pluses open, then it's hard to work through because there's a lot of lines. Lakewood Ranch, what's there? Star Farms, Laring, like I talked about in the last section, you can see it. But you can see really quickly how many homes sold. So is an anomaly. If it's one home, like maybe that's an anomaly. You're not going to get that again. But if 50 homes sold in recent history, you go into the same market, maybe there's a good chance you're going to be in the 650 to 700K range as well. But you can see what neighborhoods are on play here. That's what I mean by short list. You can say maybe all these neighborhoods are in play. And then even if you called us and you said, I have these 6 from your model, what else should I look at? We can tell you all the ones that don't have a big sales history, that have a resale. That's what I'm saying. So the tool becomes really, really useful. It's just hard to get this kind of information on a Zillow or anything like that because it took me more hours than I would like to admit to scrub the data. And then what you can do on as one other option too is you can click any of these and look up the individual homes. So say that you're curious about that South Venice thing, because this is more relevant for resale. So say you want to look, you're like, okay, I don't like new construction homes really, or I don't want to wait. Okay, so this one had 7 homes that sold in 1995, 1.2 million, the Oaks. If you're not familiar with the Oaks, pretty beautiful. If you double click any of these, and I have a reminder over here, if you double click any of these numbers right here, it'll open the exact records that made the 7. And the exact addresses, you can look them up and you can see like, what are these? Oh, these are all real old. That's why they're this price or something like that. And it gives you even more texture to what you might do. So you can these are the exact 7. These are the exact addresses. This is how the average price got created, right? Because it took these. But you could do like the median from it, you know, if you want. I mean, obviously this one's easy because you can see all of them at a certain price point, but you can kind of do that kind of thing. And then it opens into a separate tab. So this is all like trash. It doesn't matter. You can delete it. And again, if you mess it up, you can download the tool again. So that's kind of the gist of how it works. You can also, if I undid all these buckets, I have this sorted by volume, but you can also right click anything and you can change the sort right here. So you can sort by price first, you can sort by square footage, and then you can always undo that. But you can sort any category if you click on the white. So there's that. And then I preset 2 other tabs just to make it easier, because if you're not super, if you haven't used Excel a ton, you're not going to know where everything's hidden or whatever. So you're not going to know how to, if you don't want to look at this view, you might not know how to change that. And even if you do, it's kind of a pain. So what you can do here is, this is the macro area. If you go to tab 2, it's the same exact idea, but this is the more drawn out version of the zip codes. This is the ones where every individual zip code is named. And they're only grouped if it's like Northport or Port Charlotte, where it didn't make sense to separate particularly. And I kind of went through and decided that myself, but I think it makes the most sense if you're familiar with the area. So you'll see Parish here, but it's not combined with Palmetto. You'll see Lakewood Ranch isn't all one and the same. This might be an easier view. So you'll see here, like I have multiple Bradentons that may be combined as Western Bradenton or combined as something different. You know, Cortez is separate than that. It's not combined. You'll see East Mayaca. You know, you'll see like this is a lot of Waterside and Lower Lakewood Ranch. You see what I'm saying? So it's kind of a cool way you can do it. You can see east of the trail, the multiple Englewoods, and even like a Lakewood Ranch, north of State Road 70 and south of State Road 70, which is a big difference. And even look at this price right here. So if you just looked at Lakewood Ranch, you could see how confusing and misleading average price would be. There's that. And then the last one, it's not my favorite view, because this one also has neighborhood under it. I'd always go, if it was me, well, you don't want to look at the anomaly of the one, but if it was me, it's easier to look at neighborhood scrubbed under area, because neighborhood by itself is tricky, because there's like 15 esplanades, you know? But if you want to, I have just neighborhood by itself. Port Charlotte's weird. There's not really neighborhoods, but Star Farms, South Venice, you can see them again. But you can see there's 15,000 records. So is it valuable to see 1-200 at a time? Just saying like the utmost ranking one is like 10, not even 10%. So that's why it's not my favorite view. But if you wanted to view it, I preset it for you. Same exact buttons work the same exact way. So I hope you find that useful. Please let me know if you have any questions. The best thing you can do here is you can be like, I get it, call us, and we can work within it. Or you can use this to ask better questions. Even if you don't work with this, I hope it's useful. And if you give me just a second to outro the video, I tell you some other ways if you resonate with this content that you can get involved with us. And thank you guys so much. Okay, that does it for today's edition on the Florida Relocation Guide. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did and you are not subscribed to this channel, please consider doing so. I try to post every Sunday at around 4 p.m. Central Time, 5 p.m. Eastern. And subscribing is just the best way to see what's coming next. We have a ton of value that is planned for the balance of the year. The data tool that I showed in this video and I used to really be the engine of everything I really built, all the insights I gained, again, that is free for download in the description box below. If you want to get into nerd analytic land, then I tried to build it in a really user-friendly way. You can literally go, I have buttons at the top. You don't have to know anything about Excel. And you can click, I'm this price range. I like this area. I want to see what sold in the last 3 months to know if it's realistic because I'm buying in the next 3 months. It'll narrow it immediately. You can literally see those areas. You can double click it and you can see the exact addresses and look them up on Zillow and see like, would this be what I like? And it's not 2 years old. So it would be realistic. So I think that's kind of cool. Check that out. Again, I'm just trading you for an email address, completely free. Also, so everything else, bedside manner items. This is one tool. We do give away many, many things over the year, and we try to store them in this one spot on my website under this free resources. So yeah, this tool will be there, but we also have relocation guides. You can see Naples, you can see Tampa Bay, you can see best restaurants, up and coming new construction neighborhoods and the like, but all the free stuff sits in one place. We also have a really nice monthly newsletter that gets you more like real-time trending kind of data that comes out every 30 days. And lastly, you know, it's hard to really beat just a phone call or email communication. If you're in the middle of research, I know how it is. You're trying to dive deeper. You're watching these videos probably because you're at some timeline of independently or working with a realtor and trying to research further. Well, asking the right question at the right time can really shortcut that. And what this YouTube channel's purpose is it sits on the front of the back end engine that is my real estate brokerage. So the Sunshine State Company here it's not in a silo from each other. It's an extension. So it's me plus Tana the broker plus the agents, and we all are in congruence. So if that's of interest to you, then the agents we have an amazing team. They really take the baton of what I'm trying to do in this heavy research, more macro element, and we can customize anything to you in a really non-pressure environment. So please consider that. All of our information is everywhere. The website's the home base for it, and we can do something as aggressive in timeline or as a passive as you individually need. But most importantly, if you don't do any of that, I appreciate you even taking 5 minutes of your very valuable time to consume any of my content, and we'll see you on the next one.